the TV studio from the Palais des Congrès in Strasbourg, where we're meeting after the Mondial of white wine in Strasbourg, which was held on the 2nd and 3rd of October last. Now, this is shared directly in French on Facebook and in English with simultaneous interpretation on YouTube, and you can find the link at the bottom at the right of your screen. So, I would like to introduce Christine Collins, who is the director of the Mondial Blanc, who is the fairy godmother and the memory of this competition, an adventure which started 23 years ago. Serge Dubs, who is the best sommelier of the world, 1989, and Philippe Bouvet, marketing director of the Interprofessional Council of Alsace Wines. So, a week after the tastings and the attribution of medals following the blind tastings, which led to medals of either gold or silver, up to a maximum of 30% of the samples presented. Let's go back to the origin and the functioning of this international competition. Christine, can you tell us about it? Yes. Well, it's more than 20 years ago that we started this, and we've known each other for more than 20 years. And you were always, Yvelise, at my sides to be able to have the idea of this competition gain ground, and you know it just as well as I do. In 1998, when the eGast fair was organized, which is a gastronomic fair, the marketing director of Strasbourg Events, with whom I was working, had the idea of setting up a Riesling competition of the world, a world Riesling competition, in other words, because this grape definitely was due an international competition specially dedicated to that grape. And the first edition was great success, and we therefore perfected the rules and in order to obtain the stamp of approval of governmental bodies. And so as of 1999, the Riesling competition, the world competition for Riesling wines, started to rise in importance. And then other competitions were added to it, mainly at the request of the wine growers. And that's how we started. So we have Pinot Gris, Gewürztraminer, Sylvaner, Pinot Blanc grapes. And now we were going to say that as of we started to make the white wines known throughout the world. And then we started with just one competition, which is the Strasbourg Mondial of white wines. It is the only white wine competition, the only competition in the world which is entirely devoted to the whole diversity, the whole range of white wines under the patronage of the International Organization of the Wine Growers and a member of VinoFed, the World Federation of major wines and competition of spirits, as well as major competitions of wines. So the wine growers can present their different wines, whether they're sparkling wines or still wines. Well, we started with the still wines, and then we moved on to the sparkling wines as well. We've got 12 categories of wines now. And the tasters, where do they come from, and how are they chosen? Well, the tasters, they come from the whole world, throughout the world. And we realized they were very happy to come to Strasbourg this year because they needed to see each other. They wanted to taste the wines. They wanted to meet with one another. And so we have wine growers from Japan. We have Americans. We have some juries from the whole world, from throughout the world. And so with regard to the professional qualities of the wine as well, we've got sommeliers, we've got bloggers, we've got people who are acclaimed and certified wine tasters. Well, how does it work? How does the jury work? How does it operate? Well, you know about this. You've been on the jury for the last 20 years, so perhaps you know exactly exactly how it works. You know exactly how it works. Perhaps you can explain. Let me give an example of a table. I was in jury this year. In order for it to be a competition, which has been agreed by the International Wine Federations, they've got to be seven wine tasters, 2 to French, and we've got to have others as well. So we've got producers from the Canaries. We've got someone from Czechoslovakia. We've got Janice as well. Greece. On my right, I've got the president, the honorary president of OIG, which is Monica Trisman, and also we've got a second French person here with me as well. And what's important is that for the 2 mornings, for 2 to 3 hours each, we've got 2 to 3 flights, in other words, 3 series of about 15 different kinds of wine, which are tasted on the basis of a table. So everything happens very quietly. We don't speak. We exchange notes only afterwards. So, Christina, could you tell us about the patronage of the OIV and VinoFed? Yes, well, the OIV is the International Organization of Wine. It's a little bit like the United Nations of Wine, really, the OIV. And so it's very important to have their patronage for these competitions because they really are the stamp of approval and the stamp of excellence of these wines, which are imposed on us. And also, we need to have a presence and recognition. We have a controller, a checker, who monitors the OIV. And this year we were lucky enough to have the president of the OIV and the vice president as well. And what about VinoFed? VinoFed is, well, when we have the patronage of OIV, then we start to think about VinoFed, which is the World Federation of competitions for wines and spirits. It is there are 18 competitions, 18 international competitions, and the tradition is to set up and put together to really highlight this federation, to put wines at the center of what we call excellence, and we need to make sure that we work together to do this. And I think the president and the vice president are with us, or were present. Thank you very much, Christian. Serge, over to you, and thank you very much for being with us. We know exactly how very busy you are, and you are the best. You were awarded the best sommelier of the world in 1989, and you still carry out your functions at the Auberge de Lille in Alsace, and you have been present every year since it was set up. And so, can you tell us what the international wine tasters have to do every year? Well, it is a great honor for me to be here, and of course I am faithful to this international wine tasting because this jury is really something which is quite unique. It doesn't exist anywhere else. There are 7 of us around the table with different from different parts of the world, and may come from Japan, from Slovakia, from Italy, from Spain, from Argentina, from Chile, from South Africa. So with different origin, different tastes, and different wine culture. But of course, all of this is tasted blind. You have a kind of a yardstick baseline to start with, which again is a blind tasting. And I'm always very modest with this because what I'm most interested in is to describe it, of course. But I like this wine. For a wine to have a medal, to get a medal, we must love this wine. We must like it. We must love it. But to give it a gold medal, of course, it is completely, it's a consecration of this wine. But it must make people happy, and it must make people to sit around a table and exchange views with an enologist coming from the East or from China or Africa. It's a completely different experience, but each one must be honest with regard to the product and must give it marks. Sometimes there may be difference in marks and there may be difference in taste as well. But when we look at the notes across the board and the marks, because they are secret, no one provides any explanations before they've given the marks to that particular wine. And then, finally, the final consensus is a consensus of the connoisseurs, the tasters, human beings of the bodies who are expecting satisfaction and pleasure. And of course, there's a question of whether you identify with a certain grape, with the region, with the appellation, and whether the result, well, I think about pretty well 99% is quite correct, is quite fair. So, if I've understood then, it is a very rigorous analysis of the sensory qualities of the wine, of course, with a great deal of goodwill towards the producer who has produced this wine and who has submitted it for tasting. Well, this is very pleasant. Of course, sometimes there may be little discussion. It might be kind of lively at times, but really, it happens in very politely, and no one is put is made to feel ill at ease because of what has been written, because some people, there may be certain opinions, but of course it's the future which decides in the end. Philip, you are the marketing director of the Interprofessional Association of Alsace Wines. Can you explain us the importance of obtaining any medals at a competition and of submitting your samples? Well, good afternoon, and well, good evening, in fact, and thank you, organizers. Thank you very much for having set up this competition and for having really worked so hard at it over the years. This is really a very heartfelt thanks from all the wine growers who know what great expertise you have in white wines. Well, in France and in Europe, in Australia, and in the whole world, there is a boom, an explosion in demand for white wine by some of by the consumers. And when there's a change in the market, you need to be able to guide the market. And what could be stronger? What could provide a stronger signal than a competition, a world competition, an international but a world competition, which also has the stamp of approval of VinoFed and the OIV to be able to get this going. And of course, it's crucial to have tools such as competitions, particularly international world competitions, which is the only one in the world, in Strasbourg, which is dedicated to white wines alone. So if we have the idea about the capital of Alsace, we haven't been taking many planes for the last year and a half, so we don't use these words such as hub, like for Chicago or Frankfurt or Heathrow. And there's one word which people do know very well, which is the hub of Alsace. Because when they come to Alsace, they feel that there's something of their own country which they find here in Alsace on the Route des Vins, because it's the place to be, as we say in such good French. It's at least a hub where there were many hundreds of years ago. This led to the wine grows, the perfect soil for growing wine, and it is a very specific situation. We've got sedimentary wines, we've got different areas. So if we've got wine growers from Japan, from Chile, from elsewhere, they will find something that they have at home when they come to Alsace. So the capital of this know-how here in Alsace, I think that we've got a kind of a little mascot, hoping that there will be some rewards for our know-how in Alsace. So Alsace, the knowledge goes back for many centuries because of the different soils we're very specialized in dry white wines, which are very well balanced, and it's very important for a wine grower to be able, and for an area to be able to be part of a competition, because after all there's the idea of competition. Will we be able to match other wine areas? Italy and Czech Republic, Australia, Chile. We have a great deal of affection for our brother and sister wine growers associations, but we also want to show that Alsace is very outstanding in this. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Serge, and thank you, Philippe. And now we're going to seat you just after. We're just going to have two wine growers coming on now to the set for the latest info. They'll bring you up to date with the trophies and the prize winners. So welcome to
Christophe Beauté, Director General of the Turkheim Winery, and Frédéric Beicht from the Pierre and Frédéric Beicht estate in Dollesheim. You're both Alsatian wine producers who have been submitting samples to the white wine competition for a very long time. So, Phil, what is the significance for a wine cooperative such as yours, which brings together 240 wine growers with a surface area of 400 hectares? What's the significance? What's the importance of seeking medals for your wines? Thank you very much for your invitation and for asking me to state my views about this competition and its importance. It's true, and I'm not insulting Christine when I say that at the beginning, when we heard about it, we thought yet another competition, but we tried to follow what was happening because, of course, it's held in Strasbourg. This is part of our DNA, and we saw it evolve. And now, as Serge explained quite rightly, it has become something which is really well known in the wine producing world, and I'll come back to that later. Now, of course, when you're fortunate enough to have received a medal, it's important at various levels. It's important for the wine producers, the 250 wine producers you've heard about. We're told they produce fine wines, but when this receives an outside recognition, especially with such an outstanding jury, as Serge Dupes said, this is an additional recognition. So, of course, we're pleased about that, and it's important for everybody who plays his or her part in wine growing. We're a large winery, we have enologists, we have technicians, and all these people in this way, they receive recognition and the appreciation of their work and the love they place in this. And again, of course, it's a recognition of our profession. We're all colleagues, but of course it's important to compare one another. When we receive a gold medal, we take part, and therefore we're part of the upper echelons of the wine producers. And in a competition, it's not only the major wine producers, we also have independent wine producers, cooperative like the Turkheim, all the families of the Alsatian wine growing community, and wine growers from elsewhere. And of course, it's important for the prescriptors and the consumers, the press, the sommeliers, everyone who's going to speak about the competition and the awards which have been given. And of course, people always need a reassurance. In a globalized wine-producing world where there are more and more exchanges, we need benchmarks. There are good ones, there are some which are less good, and we hope that the quality of the competition in Strasbourg is part of those signs of excellence, which in fact serve as a guide for consumers. We have extremely professional juries, blind tasting, the marks are awarded blind, and therefore we we need these models and we need the sign of excellence. Thank you very much, Christophe. Frédéric, you're an independent wine grower. For some time now, you have taken over and you manage the family estate of 20 hectares, more or less, I believe, which is to be found in Dollisheim, 25 kilometers to the west of Strasbourg in Alsace. You try to merge ancestral traditions and modern techniques. So why do you submit samples to this competition? Well, why? Well, just like Christophe and the Turkheim winery, we've been following Christine right from the beginning. Earlier on, you were speaking about tasters who have been trained by Silva, and we were part of that about 20 years ago. So why do we offer our wines? Well, we produce high-quality wines, and we want this to be known. And of course, this is a way of comparing ourselves with others, both in Alsace and throughout the world. And today, this is important in order to make headway, make progress ourselves in our practice. And of course, this is a recognition for all the people involved, for all the people who work, our teams, both those working in the vineyards, the people working in the cellars, a recognition of all the work which has been carried out. And direct sales, yes, of course, we really focus on direct sales. For 30 years now, we have specialized in that. 80% more or less of our sales are directly from the cellars, from our estate. And we compare this with the choice of our customers, of our clients. And of course, this goes hand in hand with our explanations. We explain that our wines are good, and of course that reassures the purchasers and that of the wine growers. Thank you. So Christophe and Frédéric, please stay with us. We're now going to move on to the results of the white wine Mondial, and Serge and Christelle will also join us. Christine, as the director of the competition, can you just say a few words about the results for 2021 already in terms of samples? Yes, thank you. This year, of course, we were still in the throes of the world pandemic. In fact, we have a record figure of countries present, 660 samples of exceptional, outstanding wines. On average, in the past, we had 17 countries and 700 samples. So this year, we obtained this interesting figure. So how many participating countries, and therefore new ones? Yes, 21 countries with Japan, Bulgaria too, and wines which have arrived from New Mexico, from the USA, and therefore each year we receive exotic wine, so to speak. And of course, South Africa, unfortunately, wasn't able to come. Yes, of course, South Africa wasn't able to export anything. They're still in lockdown and weren't able to take part. And I sincerely hope that in 2022, the world situation will come back to normal, things will improve, and many more countries, again, will be able to participate in that. The White Wine Mondial edition next year will be outstanding. So how many gold medals this year? 81 this year, with a mark of 89 points minimum. 104 silver medals were awarded. So this means that out of 660 samples submitted for tasting, there's about 28% which were authorized and which could have received awards. Do you have an explanation for that? Does it have to do with the vintage? Well, there's no effect in terms of results. The result was excellent for the 2020 vintage. You confirm that? Yes, indeed. No, I think that has more to do with the rigor of the juries, because the juries are becoming more and more demanding, more and more fussy, and they really want the consumers to be satisfied. When you're faced with a medalled wine, the consumer needs to be satisfied. And the variety of the origins of countries in terms of taste and culture, does that have a bearing? Serge was saying this. It's true that, of course, there are different cultures, different tastes. However, generally speaking, the juries mark the wines on the basis of a sensory analysis. You need a technical approach. And so it's really the jury which has the last word. They're sovereign in their choice. Thank you. So we have the 81 gold medals, 104 silver medals. They'll be put online after this program on the site and on the social network. So just bear with me a little longer to see whether you have received a gold medal or a silver medal for all those who have produced samples. And now let us move on to the wines which were distinguished this year for their excellence. So over and beyond the gold and the silver medals, each year in our competition we award a prize to each category of the still wines, and in each category a dry wine which was given the best mark is therefore awarded the dry wine trophy during the competition. This year we have 11 and not 12, quite simply because we didn't have any Viognier in the category of the dry wines, which was awarded a prize. And therefore, please do show some patience vis-à-vis certain wines, because there are wines from all over the world, and I certainly hope that I pronounce them correctly. So the blended dry wine trophy was given to the newest Blanc winery, Coteaux d'Ancerune from the Chapelle de Norilise in Hérault, France.
Le trophée vin sec cépage blanc a été attribué à la cuvée Moscato Spinas 2020 du domaine Stradaridakis
Brothers Winery in Crete, Greece.
Le trophée vin sec
Chardonnay award was given to Charismatikos Chardonnay 2001 Kavala in Greece. So as you can see, it's difficult to pronounce these names, and I apologize to the Greek vineyards. Chenon was awarded to the Casta Diva 2017 from the Puy de Notre-Dame, Maine-et-Loire, France. The Gewürztraminer trophy was awarded to Tramisavil 2018, Vinasi Estate in Rasikoviské in the Czech Republic. The Muscat dry white wine was awarded to the Muscat Capilrein, Français, Belgique, Alsace, France. The dry Pinot Blanc was awarded to Auxey, Alsace, from the cellar of Euneville, Alsace, France. The dry wine Pinot Gris trophy was awarded to Pinot Gris, Clare Valley, Adelaide Hills, Taylor's Wines in Auburn, Australia. The Riesling Award was awarded to Tentation 2019, Francis Beck, Eflic, Alsace, France. The Sauvignon trophy was awarded to Sauvignon Blanc 2020, Bind, Pincet, Bayandon, Chofega in Hungary. Sylvaner to Sylvaner Vieille Vigne from the Turkheim wine cellar in Turkheim, Alsace in France. Bravo to the Turkheim winery, and I remind you that there were no dry wine trophy for Viognier, and now I'd like to call on my colleagues. Each year Vinoret awards us an additional prize to one of the wines which received a dry wine trophy. Christine, in 2021, Yes, on behalf of VinoFed, the 2021 prize is awarded to the Turkheim winery for its Sylvaner Vieille Vigne 2021. Bravo, congratulations.
Bravo, Christophe.
Thank you very much, Christophe. Would you like to make a comment very quickly? Well, first of all, this is a great honor for us. We're going to celebrate this in our winery. I would like to extend my warmest thanks to the jury. We're absolutely delighted. Of course, Sylvaner is a grape which is becoming slightly less popular. We're really focusing on this. This is an old grape. Many Sylvaner grapes are no longer planted, but now we have extraordinary varieties, a little bit like in a warm year like 2021, and we have some Sylvaner wines which are really wonderful. The grapes are wonderful, excellent for the Sylvaner. Thank you. So now, if we compare all categories and all wine styles, the wine which received the best mark throughout the competition and will be receiving the grand prize of the jury for 2021. And this year, Serge, who receives it? It's the Granholm 2015 appellation from the Pierre and Sylvaner Beicht estate in Dollisheim. So bravo, congratulations to you. Yes, Frederick, a quick reaction, please, a spontaneous reaction. Many, many thanks. I just don't know what to say. It's an incredible recognition for all the work we have carried out. That's all I can say, both in the vineyard, in the cellar. It's not just work, it's a passion. And this trophy, of course, I dedicate it to my family. They're still there, my parents who are there, who accompany us, who help us the whole time, my children, of course, of whom I'm proud, and especially my wife. It's in fact thanks to her that I manage to do all of this. They really give me their unwavering support. Your wine received the very best mark, the highest mark out of the 660 samples submitted. So take a deep breath. So bravo, congratulations, congratulations. All of these excellent wines are going to be presented during the EGAST fair, which will be held in Strasbourg on between the 27th of February and the 2nd of March 2022. There's a little teaser you can see on the screen. Please feel free, do come. Needless to say, thank you to all of you all over the world, so many of you who followed us, who listened to us, who logged on, and of course now you will be able to receive the comprehensive list, the full list. It will be placed online in a few moments on the internet site of the White Wine Mondial, and of course on the social networks. And we shall meet for the next White Wine Mondial in 2022. Many thanks.